feel welcome here, even though he's a Dodger fan.
Thank you, you did a fabulous job.
So for those of you who do not know David Mickaelian, how many do not know him?
Yeah.
Wow, how sad for you. Okay.
Oh, well.
He is Healdsburg City's manager. He's been so since December of 2014. As most of you know, Healdsburg is a full-service city with approximately 130 full-time employees and an annual budget of approximately $72 million. Prior to being appointed city manager, David was the assistant city manager. He was initially hired in 2005 by to be the community services director. I did not know that. His main task at the time was to create a full-time parks and recreation department. And as the community services director, the city opened a community center, revitalized the city's community park, expanded community gardens, and completed the city's largest airport. Does anybody know where the airport is? He began his career in the private sector working for Holland America Line in Skagway, did I say that right, Alaska? And later at St. Mary's Lodge and Resort in Glacier Park, Montana and Ketchum, Idaho. After leaving the private sector, David worked for Blaine County Recreation District in Haley, Idaho, City of Roseville, and now the City of Healdsburg. He was born and raised in Southern California. This is gonna be hard. He received his bachelor's degree from Chico State and his master's degree in public administration from Golden Gate University. David and his wife Michelle have called Healdsburg their home since 2005, and they have 2 children, one of whom I met, Taylor, who is just lovely, Ryan, and their dog Juno, who I've also met. And also one last thing, I've worked with David for quite some time now with our organization, and he's a very quiet, and sometimes people think he's very serious, but he is a man of his word. I can say that to you. Whatever he has told us he is going to do for us, he has. And he really is a joy to work with, so I just want you to know, I think we're very fortunate to have him as the city manager. So without further ado, the Dodger family.
Okay, so I'm going to figure this out.
Oh, here comes your helper.
Okay. Well, I'll just go ahead and jump through. So I appreciate everybody allowing me to speak with you this morning. What I try and do is on an annual basis is we call the service club. So the presentation which you're going to see kind of reflects prior to October 8th and prior to a lot of the discussions which we've been having over the past week or so, or 2 weeks or so. So I just want to frame it that way. What I'm going to do is kind of go through a few things relatively quickly, but I found that these types of meetings are best used by simply you asking me questions. So what I'll try and do is go through this, and we have about, 20-25 minutes? I'm not sure what we're looking at. And as we're getting close, someone can just wave their hand so I know we're getting to the end. So as this is warming up, I'll go ahead and, there we go. So, City of Healdsburg. What I wanted to do was talk real briefly about an event that's coming up actually next Wednesday. It is called the Liveability Workshop. Prior to Monday the 8th, the focus of this workshop has been on what does it mean, kind of defining livability for Healdsburg residents. What does it mean to be Healdsburg residents? What are some of the challenges of being a Healdsburg resident? And some of the benefits and values of being a Healdsburg resident. So the idea is to have this public forum up at the Villa next Wednesday from 6 to 8. It'll be a facilitated meeting, and we encourage all of you to come. Try and keep to the deadline of, or the timeline of 6 to 8 so we can get people in and allow them to kind of have a very open discussion with regards to subjects about livability in Healdsburg, and also recognize the fact that things have changed in this community after October 8th. So more to come on that. I would encourage you to take a look on social media. You'll see additional information on that coming forward. And again, I added this slide. Actually, this was a slide that was presented to council at the last council meeting, and I thought it was important just to at least recognize what we've been doing since October 8th and kind of review what the city's response was to the just horrific fires to the south of us. which has really impacted everybody. I'm assuming everybody in this room, city employees, schools, everybody in between. So what I really wanted to do was just give you a brief overview of what the city's response has been, and I won't read off the PowerPoint, but of course our fire department, we responded. We had, I believe, 2 engines on the scene that evening. We had some police force was helping out. Mutually, that's pretty common when we have an event of this size. We immediately opened up our shelter. The community center was open that morning. We were able to help folks who were displaced by the fires. I think we closed on Sunday, actually. So we're open for that time. The volunteers who came forward was just amazing to see, not just the restaurants donating food, but citizens donating their time. We were actually turning donations away where so much stuff was coming to the community center with regards to clothing and food and so forth that we were really kind of said, hold on, we have enough here, let's focus on the folks that have been displaced. So that was a pretty amazing scene to witness. The other thing too, which I think is important, we'll talk a little bit more when we get into transparency, is we hired a community outreach coordinator not too long ago, Rhea Borges, and she was amazing. So we basically put her on Facebook and Nixle that morning, and I don't know if she slept like many volunteers, updating the community as far as what was happening with the fires. We were taking a lot of information that was already out there from the county, from Santa Rosa, reposting it to our Facebook site and Nextdoor, which has been a good outlet for us. We also had 2 voluntary evacuation orders that came through. One had to do with Parkland Farms, which came later in the week, and prior to that we had one for Ditch Mountain and Rivers Bend. So again, I won't speak too much more about this, but this kind of gives you a brief overview. What I'll do is I'll take questions at the end of that, if that's okay. So getting back to the presentation I've given the other groups, what I wanted to do is just basically hit on what the council goals are for this fiscal year. Fiscal year in Healdsburg starts July 1. So July 1, all you all know the calendar year is January 1st. Fiscal year is July 1st. And so some of the goals had to do with community services, communication, and transparency. I won't go through all these, but you kind of get the picture. And me as a city manager, what I do is I take the council goals. This is my direction again for council. And what I try to do is we create the work plan to accomplish all of these goals to the best of our ability. One of the items which is especially near and dear to everybody's heart, especially based on what happened on the 8th, is housing. So prior to that, we had a number of housing projects which are kind of in the queue and currently being built. Besides that, we also have partnerships that we use to help with transitional housing, to help with folks who have been displaced. And Coney's been a great partner for us, working with COTS, Housing Land Trust. Deb Gotchis has been great for us. Reach for Home. I mean, there's just so many different groups which the city has tried to contract with. What I found is find the organizations that can do a really good job, that can do it better than the city can, who are resourced for it, and partner with them. And I think we've been pretty fortunate to have some really good partners in Healdsburg. So those are the partnerships we have. As far as the actual housing projects, we have 1201 Grove Street. Any of you know where the skate park is, right across the street from the skate park. You have a 24 unit, one of those is a manager's unit, 24 units of low-income housing, and we hope to have that online here this spring, late spring, early summer. We purchased 721, 723 Center Street, and those were 4 duplexes. Those were going to come on the market and potentially be raised, and you see small homes or large homes put there. So the city, of course, with amazing support from our city council, we took a very aggressive role in that, and we purchased those 8 units. And from there, we ended up partnering with Burbank Housing, and Burbank Housing will actually be managing those units for us. And in fact, they just received a loan to go ahead and make some much needed improvements to those units. So that's a great partnership for us. Sajo Hills. I've been talking about Sajo Hills for, when did I start working here? It's in my bio, 2000, yeah. So literally the second day on the job, the previous city manager previous city manager, Chuck Westepper, pulled me into a meeting with Sajo Hills, and they were just starting to talk about their project, and that was the second day on the job, and they haven't broken ground yet. So we'll see how that transpires. But a really interesting partnership, if you want to call it that, was a hotel that's being built right across the street from Big John's Market. When they came to the city, they asked us, what is the city really looking for? And of course, the first thing out of all of our mouths was housing, housing, housing. And so they actually agreed without any city participation to build 37 units of affordable housing. So as part of the hotel project, they're also going to be building 37 units of housing, which is currently under construction. And I got to say, they've really exceeded our expectations with the speed in which that project has progressed, not only the hotel, but the housing on the backside of that. And those of you who drove down Grove Street, you see some activity in the creek there. Creek came from my time in Idaho, so two things. I say Ammons because I went to Chico, and I call it creek because I spent on that. And Pop because I worked in Glacier for a bunch of college students. But back to more importantly, so as you're driving down Grove Street, you'll see a bridge being built there, and that's the access for the affordable housing site. So again, these folks have really been building this lickety split, and we hope to have that project online in late spring, early summer. So the potential is to have 12 on Grove Street, which is 24 units, and then 37 units really basically across the street come online here late spring, early summer, when they're permitting. So that's really exciting for a city of our size to have those projects moving forward. Infrastructure. So I'm going to talk a little about infrastructure. These are some of the things that we've been working on over the past 2 years, and I'll just jump right in and talk about the Healdsburg Avenue Improvement Project. You're all aware of what's going on in the center of town, which has been going on for some time now, and all likely will be going on for some time in the future. That's the Roundabout Project, which everybody is fully aware of, and that project has not been without its challenges. So we continue to endeavor to get that project done as quickly as we can. I think it's important to understand is that really what's happening is that the significant amount of that work that's happening is underground. We have sewer lines which are 17 feet deep, which have become very challenging for the contractor to get that done. I think that's what we're trying to get done right now. The last two pieces are connecting the sewer line from Vine Street to what we call the roundabout, the center piece of it, and then connecting the sewer line from Mill Street to that area as well. What you're going to see next, hopefully, is once they get the water and sewer hooked in, is you'll see them opening up Mill Street that's been closed for some time. And the hope is when they open that up, you'll actually see a completed section of road. So it'll be curb, gutter, sidewalk, and street. That'll be the first phase, which you'll start to see what the project is supposed to look like. But again, I think we can talk more about questions. Okay, we can talk right now.
Just quickly regarding this, are you guys putting any lines in for the treated sewage water?
Yeah. So part of the project has a purple pipe going through the intersection, but we realized now it's probably more cost effective to bring the sewer, the treated water in from the kind of the freeway intersection. So we'll be looking at that as well, and then working with Replay to make sure that they install that infrastructure as part of the project. Other infrastructure projects, which things people don't really talk about too much, is taking a look at how can we provide more efficient services. We had a lift station on Moore Lane. Can we scratch that from the tape?
Yeah.
And so, again, from a cost perspective, it's much more efficient just to use a gravity-fed line, and so we were able to do that this past year. Measure B, I think, this is really the unsung hero of city streets, is over 25% of our streets have been improved just because of Measure B funds. Measure B funds, that was approved a few years back, and it's really impressive to see the amount of streets that have really been, their life has been extended. We haven't replaced the streets, the intent was to extend the life of those streets, and so it hasn't gone without challenges. Some folks rather see us replace the streets entirety. It's a cost issue. To replace a section of a mile is about $1 million, and you can get a lot more bang for your buck by doing this process, which Public Works has taken over. Parking continues to be, although not recently since the fires, but parking continues to be a topic of interest. The city will be building 70 parking spaces at City Hall, so where the old tree lot is, or where the tree lot is, we should call the old tree lot. We'll be putting, I think, 73 parking spaces, and we're in the process of that project moving forward right now. We are also, and that bid was awarded, and we're also adding another, I believe, about 30 parking spaces in West Plaza, and that's going to be right where the railroad track is. So we'll be adding those additional parking spaces hopefully prior to the next summer season. And of course, we have 3 North Street, and that project, that's the old Cherry site, Purity building. And we're looking, that'll be going through design review for a home to the farmer's market and some parking there as well. So that continues to progress. And then we've been having lots of discussions with council about a parking management plan. We will be bringing Walker parking back to take a look at some of the things that was discussed at previous council meetings, and we got direction from council to proceed to investigate these items, so that'll be coming forward here in the near future as well. Design guidelines, this is for those architects in the room, those designers in the room. This is something that's really exciting for Healdsburg, is we are working with a consultant to develop design guidelines. And so the next step in this is having a joint planning commission council meeting, working with the consultant schedule right now to schedule that here hopefully before the first of the year, and then have those adopted right at the beginning of next year. So what that means is we'll have design guidelines, meaning if you're building a house in certain areas or a business in certain areas, there are certain guidelines you're going to have to follow. Much more to come on that. I would encourage you to go online if this interests you and pull those design guidelines up, and now's the time to comment on them and go from there. So that we'll have a joint, much more opportunities for the community to weigh in on what they like, what they don't like. There's been quite a bit of public comment at this point. There's been a number of public meetings as well, so I encourage you, if it interests you, to participate in the conversation. So transparency, this is one of the goals from council as well, and of course with the city manager's office, we always want to be as transparent as possible. Some things we've done over the past year include copy with the city manager. So when quarterly, I meet up at the shed and don't really have a set agenda. I just take questions from the community, and we have department heads there as well, and we're able to address any item which comes up. We hired an outreach coordinator in Maria, and she's done a fantastic job working with social media platforms, and we'll continue to do that. And just a myriad of other things. So I think it's important that as we get information, we're able to provide it to the community in a timely manner and which is accurate. I think some of the challenges which we're facing, which cities face in general, especially when it comes to social media, is as events happen, people want instant information. We as a city, we need to make sure the information that we provide is accurate. And so there might be information that's being shared on social media which is less than accurate. And people are expecting us to respond to that. And it's difficult for us to do that in real time based on the resources we have. So it's really important for us at the city to make sure whatever information we're providing to the community is as accurate as, well, not as accurate as possible, but it is accurate. And so sometimes you'll see a lag between what's happening, what you're seeing in social media, whatever platform you may be utilizing, versus when the information is coming out to the city. Because it's really important, whatever we provide reflects the truth. And I'm just going through these pretty quick. The City Hall Remodel Project, so this is a project which is actually going very well at this point. And for those of you who've been to City Hall and have had a development project, you've probably been to the CDC. It's the big metal warehouse behind City Hall, about 7,000 square feet, which houses our engineers, public works engineers, electric engineer, all those folks. The intent is to bring those folks over to City Hall. We've been spending about a little less than $100,000 annually in rent and utilities. So the idea is to actually bring them over to City Hall and have everybody under one roof. In the long term, it'll save us money. We'll be in one location. So that's what we're doing, and we hope to have City Hall completed around June, July. So that's been going very well. And that's really it for me. I mean, like I said, I wanted to go through this and really give you the opportunity to ask me any question you may have about what's happening with the city or otherwise. If it's otherwise, then I may not be able to answer it. But I think this is your opportunity to ask me questions. One thing I do want to say too is there's a couple of websites floating out there with regards to fire relief, and one of the things some volunteers have been working with the city is called NorCalFireResources.com. It's kind of a one-stop shop. You can go to that site and take a look at donating money, volunteering, housing. I want to recognize our Vice Mayor Mansell, who's really taken a real active role in trying to connect second homes or vacant homes with folks who are in need. She was instrumental in taking one of our own employees who was displaced from the fires and finding them temporary housing. So I know that's been a goal of all of ours. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. So, if you wanted to have a tiny home, an RV, a trailer parked on your property in city limits for a long-term basis, for somebody to live in. Is there a permitting process? Do you have to get permission to do that, or can you just set up shop and go forward?
So good question. Actually, on November 6th, we're going to be having that discussion. Right now, we don't allow cars to be parked in the street, I think, for more than 72 hours. It's all complaint-based. And so we'll be taking a look at a number of urgency ordinances, if you will, or opportunities for the city to address some things such as ADUs, such as just that what you're talking about, and also garage conversions, and taking a look at other things which can help in the short term ease some of these immediate housing challenges. So to your point, right now, I don't believe it is allowed to park an RV on your street for more than 72 hours.
What about in your driveway or your backyard?
I don't know, but I can get you that information. I know it's been challenging in the past. I think all those questions will be addressed on November 6th at the council meeting.
We had a similar problem on Piper Street, and the residents talked to the police department, and it is 72 hours in your driveway.
Dennis has spoken.
Of course.
But again, I think those are the things staff is looking at right now. So what staff has been doing is we're meeting with the county tomorrow. There's a meeting at the county. We're taking a look at the urgency ordinances that other cities and the county has done. The city of Santa Rosa just passed, or was looking at some recently. Not sure how those are applied to Healdsburg, because that's more about if you have a burned out home, how you can live on that site well it's being rebuilt. That's not exactly the same issue we're having in Healdsburg. So we're going to be looking at those items on November 6th. But like I said, staff has been meeting with county representatives. We've been taking all the information we see. And then there's other things which the governor's done recently with SB 35, with SB 2, with regards to housing. So all of these things are kind of coming in. There's a lot of information happening right now with regards to housing. We're trying to get our head around.
You mentioned the units that are being built as affordable housing. Are those being built for rent or sale? And then what is the actual definition of affordable? Sure.
So the question was, the units that are being built right now, are those for rent or for sale? All of those units are for rent. And affordable housing, average median income is defined through HUD, and they take a look at what the average median income is in each county. And I believe, average median income for Sonoma for a family of 4 is, I want to say, $84,000. And so what ends up happening is you take a look at the income levels which are set out in the apartment units. So some apartments will be 60% of AMI, some will be 70%, some will be 100%. And whatever that percentage of average median income, based on what your income is, you then qualify for that unit. So if you're at 120% AMI, take that average median income at 54 for a family of 4, assuming that's correct, multiply that times 120%, and that's typically for rental, they'll take 30 or 33% of that and apply that. That's what you have to qualify for to rent. We also have inclusionary housing, so for any inclusionary housing any housing development project, I think of 7 units or more, we have a 15% inclusionary requirement. So 15% of those units have to be built for sale and deed restricted for affordable housing.
Yeah, Dave. The parking lot behind Brand Insurance and beside Brand Insurance, people are concerned if it's going to be turned into a hotel, because we already have, H1, H2, and then H3. And I don't know what of course it's up to the planning commission and your council and yourself and the direction. What's your feel on that? Because trying to keep the small town charm, et cetera, et cetera.
So I think, first off, we haven't received any application. That we hear the same rumors that everybody else hears. We talked to folks about that as well. We haven't received any application.
Right.
On November 6th, we were going to have a conversation about CUPs as they're related to hotels. That meeting got pushed because we're now going to be talking about the housing issues. And so that meeting will come back probably in December. I think the event that I talked about on November 1st, I would encourage you to attend those, because I think that's part of the conversation, is what is livability, what is too much, what is enough, what is that balance. And so I think, I don't have a good answer for you. I'm not trying to duck the question, or maybe I am. But I think, again, what I can say is we haven't received an application. We've heard the same rumors you've heard. We talked to folks about that as well. But I think it's a much bigger question that you're bringing up, which I think we're all grappling with. I think council has been grappling with that as well, as far as livability, what is enough. So, yes, sir.
Is the city in any way assisting the businesses that have been adversely affected by the Roundabout Project?
So good question. Financially, no. So if you're asking, has the city been providing money to those folks that have been impacted? No, we have not. What the city's been focused on is getting the project done, which doesn't seem like that based on how long it's been taking. So what we're going to be doing, actually, we had a meeting yesterday about this, is what more of an active role the city can take in working with the business owners and getting the word out, clean that intersection up, doing things which we legally can do. And so those are the conversations we're having internally right now. Yes, sir.
Is the city looking at or going to look at more aggressive fire mitigation, fuel reduction, particularly at Fish Mountain and all the way across the Healdsburg?
Yeah, good question. So the question was, is the city looking to increase fire mitigation programs, especially in light of what just happened? So I will say this, Fish Mountain, we're actually going to be taking ownership of Fish Mountain by November 17th. And with the city working with LAMPAS over the past 3 years, we've had a very aggressive fire management plan, which has actually reduced a lot of the fuel loading on Fish Mountain. So that hasn't really been a big story, but we've taken really aggressive action. We've actually worked with CAL FIRE and I call it the inmate program to come out there and reduce that. I think you're going to see over the next several months a much more focused approach to to dealing with some of those things. What can we do to reduce the fire risk, not only in Fish Mountain, but in other areas? I mean, you start going out Parkland Farms areas and kind of in that kind of between, what is it, St. Powell and Parkland Farms, you get kind of back in the hills, there's a lot of brush back there. So what can we do as a city to better inform our community as far as what some measures you can be taking, more from an educational standpoint? You take a look at what happened after the Oakland fires. There was a really focused approach to reducing fire loads and taking a look at how we can better deal with that. So I think you'll be seeing much more focused approach to that over the next several months. But I want to go back to Fish Mountain. I didn't even bring that up in the slideshow, but that's something that Sue's been working on for years and years and years with now Senator McGuire, past councils, current council. It's pretty exciting that we'll actually be taking ownership of Fish Mountain on November 17th. We had an event scheduled for actually this Sunday. This Sunday? No, next Sunday, I think. Which we ended up,
November 4th.
Yeah, which we ended up canceling because not us, but the Fish Mountain Fund, I believe, had an annual event. Right, so we ended up having to kind of taper that off for right now based on what's happened. So you'll probably see another event coming forward, probably in the spring. But we're working with Senator McGuire's office and Ray Hawley and Craig Anderson and that group to figure out when that event would take place. Yes, sir.
Could you give us any updates on Margie?
On Margie?
Yeah, what she's doing. Did she enjoy herself?
I think Margie is enjoying herself in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Last I heard, she's knowing Margie, she couldn't just sit around, so she's working and she's working again. So I see I'm getting the hook. One more question.
One more question.
More question.
Could you provide an update regarding the new forest site? First question. Second question is, what is the city doing to hopefully have the development not be another Sergeant Hills that goes on for several decades without much happening?
That's a long answer. So what I will say is we're working with Replay. I would encourage you to go to their office and talk to David Hill and their team, and they can explain exactly what they're trying to accomplish, and they can show you what their plans are for that project. They've been very open, whether you like their plan or not. They've been very open to answer any questions you have. Their office is on Center Street. With regards to how long is that project going to take to be built, it's basically based on the GMO, because the more it takes time to get those allocations. So I think that's as far as how long it takes that project to get built, it'll be based on how quickly they can get allocations to build out. That being said, I think that's the hook, and I appreciate it. I'll stick around over here if you guys have any additional questions for me.
Souvenir Jester mug from our. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, one last bit of business. Somebody pulled out a ticket from the raffle. Don't want to sell raffle tickets without delivering.
I would. Ending in 9285.
You got it?
Got a young man.
Okay.
Good luck, Diane. Looking for the red nose.
No.
Oh dear, put it in the change for change. Okay. Thank you very much. I want to thank our resident Rotarian, Mark Becker, for coming today. Thank you, and Sean for videotaping this and posting it to the community access. I want to thank our guests, Peter, thanks for coming back, Brigitte, Millie, Barbara, and Steve. Appreciate you joining us this morning. Next week, we have Debbie Mason. She's from the Health Foundation. Is going to be our speaker. And after this, the Choices meeting that Lance is going to be running. And with that, thank you very much, but have a great day.
I think